Welcome, beautiful souls. Today we're diving deep into one of the most confusing aspects of relationships: why we're magnetized to people who aren't actually aligned with us, especially when it can feel so right at times. As you all know, relationships come in so many different packages, and it can be something like undeniable chemistry with someone, only to have it end up being completely wrong for you. Or is it? Or perhaps a work environment that seems toxic and it seems to follow you around everywhere you go. Or maybe you're questioning why the safe, stable partners feel, well, boring. Based on today's pre-submitted questions, we're going to be unpacking topics that include karmic pull, old patterns, and true soul alignment. We'll also talk about rewiring your inner compass to call in love that's both exciting and emotionally safe. Ultimately, we know that relationships can cause us a lot of heartbreak and heartache, but the lessons are super juicy, and it takes some of that evolutionary work on our spiritual journey to really navigate getting the pearls of wisdom. And that's what we set out to do on the show. So please ask your questions in the comment section, as anyone watching live will get priority. And if you haven't already taken your state of the heart assessment, please do, as you'll discover if your heart is blocked, broken, healing, or maybe it's whole, and some tips to heal it back to wholeness when heartbreak happens, because we know it is so inevitable. All right, let's jump right into today's questions. I look forward to hearing from you, any of you that are live with me, anything that's on your heart or in your mind. Give me a second here. I'll pull up the questions. Okay. Question number 1. Oh, I've got a little technical difficulty. Hang with me for 2 seconds. Okay. Why do I feel such... Whoops, hold on. I've jumped into the wrong thing here. Yeah. Why do I feel such strong chemistry with people who aren't good for me? So we're jumping right into that. That was question number 1. I think sometimes we think about chemistry as romantic, and certainly that is, I think, what the genesis of this question is. But I want to answer it from a couple of different ways, because what's coming through on this is that chemistry can be with colleagues, it can be with strangers, it can be that feeling when you walk into a room that you're like, I like this, or it can be like, I don't like this. It can be like, wow, that person just rubs me wrong. Or that person rubs me right, or there's like this recognition and there's this feeling. And so it's oftentimes a very somatic experience where we're feeling the chemistry, the rush of hormones, the rush of familiarity, the rush of an emotion, the rush of inquisitiveness. And so I don't think that chemistry has to be always perceived as, not being good. And I don't think that that's what this person is saying either. But a lot of times the romantic chemistry can be really attractive because there's the human side of us that is all about procreation and biology. And there's the other more emotional side of us that's about connection and community and belonging. And so we oftentimes attract people with strong chemistry to identify something within ourselves. And oftentimes that is a wound that is up for healing. Not always, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's up for something that's very old and ancient within us. Sometimes it's something that's going to help activate a gift. So I think the thing that comes to me here with this is who aren't good for me. I completely understand that feeling of, well, that person wasn't good for me. And yet I think every person, every relationship, every situation offers us an opportunity to learn something, because as we know, it's just a mirror. Relationships provide us the mirror. That's what we talked about almost the entire show 2 weeks ago was the mirror that relationships bring for us to see something about ourselves that maybe we're not identifying with. So I wouldn't suggest that people aren't good for us. I think we just have to change our lens a little bit, as to what is the purpose of this person in my life? What is the lesson for this person that they're bringing me? And so that's really, I think, the little bit of a nuance there to not be thinking about not good for me. All right. I'm just seeing a question come in, so I want to see what it says. I've heard that we often attract a similar energy as our mother, father until that wound is healed. What are your thoughts on that? Absolutely, because we learn love through our parents. We learn love through our communities, whoever it is that's raising us at those really impressionable ages. And so oftentimes what's happening for us as a very young person is that person that's closest to us, providing us safety in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're learning how to love ourselves or not love ourselves or navigate in relationships. So that mother-father relationship has a huge influence on what it is that we attract and who it is that we attract. And oftentimes those mother-father figures bring their own wounds to the table. And unless they've done that inner work, that's going to come down the ancestral line. It could even be from your great grandparents. So yeah, great question. And I think that is so spot on for why we bring in this chemistry. But sometimes the chemistry is a karmic past life. I know there's some questions coming in about that too. So I'll jump into the next question because I think it dovetails really nicely with this one. How do I tell the difference between karmic pull and soul alignment? And this is also a good one because the karmic pull, a lot of people talk about karma. It's oftentimes referred to as, that pull of our souls to someone else. And again, it doesn't always have to be that romantic karma that we have. It can be karma that we have with mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, friends. But there's a lesson in there because it's oftentimes unresolved energies, it's unresolved patterns, it's unresolved things that are coming to the table for us to take a deeper look at so that we can align ourselves back to that wholeness and that pure love that we are, and that whole heart perspective. And so the karmic pull, I think, is also can be very positive. It can be that we've lived a life with someone previously and we're continuing to bring that forward. In fact, a story comes to mind to share that a dear friend of mine, her son realized at a very young age, or they realized through a series of techniques, that he believed and experienced life as Lou Gehrig in a previous life. And it came to her at a time when she didn't even believe in this kind of idea or concept. And so it was a big eye opener for her to experience that. But why I bring that forward and why I think it's coming in is one of the things that they felt they came into another lifetime again for was to remind everyone that we have eternal life and we have eternal love. And when we lose someone physically here in this dimension, that we haven't actually lost them, that we still have the essence of them. We still have not just the memory of them, but actually something even more ingrained in our DNA. And so sometimes that could be the good things. That could be the love and the cherishing and the support and the stabilization. And then sometimes it can be the things that are, oh gosh, that just makes us wobbly because it's a wound that wasn't healed. It's a situation that never actually got to see the light, and it becomes more of a shadow side of yourself. So the karmic pull and soul alignment, soul alignment really is a vibration, an essence that you feel with someone that means that you've most likely done not necessarily the same work, but you've done similar work on your soul's journey, on your spiritual journey, on your path to knowing thyself, on your self-realization, and that you come into a place with them where you feel resonant, you just feel safe, you feel very at ease with them. And we could go and say, yes, it's based on morals, ethics, values, and it is. But it's even more than that because it's a soul alignment where you feel like, wow, this person not only has my back in a very non-dependent way, but an interdependent way, but that they're also here to help catapult me forward, to help me feel safe, to help me be seen in intimate settings so that I can take that basis and that love and that light out into the world and know that I'm not alone. We're never alone. We're always connected to source. But having those partners in our life, and sometimes it's a soul alignment with a dear friend. It doesn't always, again, have to be that romantic partner. But the romantic partners are also another level of intimacy, another level of unity that we can achieve when we are in these relationships. They don't always have to be in soul alignment to experience unity. Of course not. You can experience unity even with two souls who are very, very different and experiencing very different things in their life. But to have that real true soul alignment where you feel like you've really got each other and you're really here to help catapult as opposed to pull back, as opposed to break apart, as opposed to learn like the deeper shadow lessons. That soul alignment can really be a special thing. And some people go for lifetimes and don't experience a real soul alignment. But we know that when we do this work, this deep inner soul work, that we're raising our vibration. We're getting ourselves into our own soul's alignment to where we can then attract others around us that will come in and support us in that way. So I think sometimes we get so focused on the issues, I'm saying this very collectively, but the issues of our family are born in families. And that's a good thing to do sometimes because we need to understand the dynamics and the programming that we learned. But it's also our soul family. That's the people that we weren't born into, and finding, a lot of people say our tribe, and meaning like the tribe, the one that's really gonna be there for you, really understands you, isn't there to challenge you, but yet maybe at certain times question you softly, for you to think about different things and different perspectives. So that soul alignment can come through soul family, and ultimately, it comes through a romantic relationship if that's what you're looking to have. But again, some people don't have that in a lifetime. And I don't say that to be like disappointing. I know that sounds like, oh God, that's terrible. I think that it's, our soul's plan is what we have set forth prior to coming in. So it's not like you got dealt like a bad deal of cards or, oh no, poor me, it's not going to happen. It's not, I don't see it as that at all. I see it as quite the opposite, that when we really surrender into the soul's plan that we've put forth ourselves, before we even embodied here in this lifetime, in this dimension, that when we accept that, then everything can come with so much more ease and grace in our lives. And that's a hard concept. I struggle with it myself a lot because I want to help make things happen. And I want to continue to do, which there's a place to take inspired action, but it is also about being and having fun and really, really getting into the essence of who we are. And when we do that, that alignment with our own soul anchors in, and it invites other souls to come and share with us in this lifetime, whatever our activities or wherever we are. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. I always love the comments. So even if you're watching on replay and you have a comment to that, I'd love to hear it. Let's go on to the next question. Can attraction grow over time? Or does it need to be there from the start? I have kind of a theory about this, so I'm going to bring in the insights, but I'm also going to share my embodied theory that the chemistry that we talked about in the first question, oftentimes that the stronger the chemistry, the deeper the wound, or maybe the more juicy the wound, the more, the more we need to really pay attention to what the person is bringing us. And I don't mean from a judgmental place. I mean from a, wow, what are they mirroring to me? Because oftentimes, like I said, that chemistry can be so strong and it's almost blinding. We're almost blinded sometimes by our own light. We're projecting onto other people. They're projecting onto us. And it can feel very chaotic and blissful in the beginning, especially when we're really in this. So the question about, can attraction grow over time? I think that the stages of love, Deepak Chopra talks a lot about this, and the first stage being attraction and then infatuation. And we can start out in relationships where we don't have this chemistry and things are just full light speed ahead. And oftentimes I find that those relationships are the ones that start out on the most stable foundation, where all the good nuggets get talked about. Because when we're in that infatuation stage of love, often everything is perfect. And it doesn't mean that it's not perfect. It just means that we let a lot of things kind of bypass us. We let a lot of things sort of flow past. We let a lot of maybe red flags, orange flags, yellow flags. We let them kind of fly in the wind. And we, oh yeah, okay, well, and we continue to build the fantasy that we have around that chemistry and that attraction. So yeah, I think that attraction can grow a lot over time, because as we get to know someone's soul, as we get to know their morals, ethics, values, their spiritual journey, their process, their heartache, their heartbreak, how they navigated it, when we start to learn all of that, I think that's where we really start to be attracted to people on a level that's pure, because we're vulnerable. It's not the fantasies, it's not the stories that we want to say about ourselves or that we want to hear about others. Pay attention when you get into maybe the next relationship and you feel, a big attraction or no attraction. Just pay attention right away. Like, what are they telling you about themselves? And reflect on it. I would even journal on it. I would journal on how you feel somatically. A lot of times we miss that. We're just like, oh yeah, they checked the boxes. They said this, they said that, and that's great. And we kind of miss out, not always, but we miss out on some of the little pangs in our gut, and I didn't feel so good about that, or what did that mean? And so I think it's going back to, really feeling within ourselves what is the attraction to the person, and not having that chemistry can be super healthy. So yeah, for the person asking the question, can attraction grow over time, or does it need to be there from the start? Absolutely. However, I will also say what's coming through is that if you feel like this is someone that you think is a good partner and that you should be attracted to them, that has a different energy to it. So if the question's coming from that angle, I would say that what's happening there is that you're actually almost doing the reverse, where they're not meeting all of your expectations and needs, but you're wanting them to because they check the box. But if that feeling isn't there of curiosity, of inquisitiveness, like, do I want to learn more about them? I think that's probably one of the most important things. It may not be that you have the magnetism to them right away, but if you have the curiosity about them, great. If you don't, then yeah, it feels like you're potentially forcing or pushing, pulling, wanting to make it work, especially if it's a friend of a friend, or your parents have set you up, or whatever the situation is, that you feel like a little bit more pressure about wanting it to work, or you want to have a relationship, or you want to have a boyfriend, girlfriend, then that energy, you feel it. You feel like, okay, I'm pushing this. And that's where the attraction is most likely not going to grow over time. Because if you don't have the curiosity, you don't have that spark within you, then it's not necessarily going to come down the line. Now, every relationship is so unique, but I wouldn't stay in it. I would just ask those questions, and I wouldn't stay in it hoping, right? Either way, whether it's big chemistry or no chemistry, hope and potential is the sword that I'll say, kind of figuratively speaking here, most women fall on. And I could say it for myself as well. I'm not saying that men don't, but women especially, we're so great at hope and potential and falling in love with that with men. So let's just keep that very real. All right, let's jump into the next question here. Why do I feel bored with the nice partners, but obsessed with the unavailable ones? Yeah, this reminds me like back to high school, but it happens throughout our entire life. I think we grow and mature, of course, but the girls were always falling for the bad boys, right? They were always falling for the guys that did things that weren't in alignment, even when they didn't know what alignment was. Like at a young age, there's sort of this excitement about that. And I think that the differences sometimes are what draw us. The phrase opposites attract, right? We attract partners that have a different energy about them, a different way about them. It's exciting because then we are curious. We do want to do things. We want to push ourselves to go do something that we wouldn't normally do. And that excitement is really, really fun. Sometimes those nice guys, those nice girls, they don't bring that excitement out of us. Again, I feel like that's where we sit back within ourselves and we say, okay, I'm responsible for the fun factor. I'm responsible for, I guess, acknowledging and honoring the niceness of people and seeing that and asking yourself the question, if you're the type that is attracting the not nice ones, or you're attracting the nice ones and you're feeling bored, I think there's something in there for you that either you're just with the wrong partner, or more likely you have something potentially even in your nervous system that says, I should have trauma, drama, chaos to help me feel bonded to this person, or help me feel in love with this person, or help me feel excitement with this person. And that's not necessarily the direction we want to go. I mean, sometimes that's the wound that is up for healing. So sometimes that's really important to have those experiences. But if you're asking the question, I would say, yeah, look at those nice people. Look at what makes them nice and what makes you attracted to them. And where's the fun factor that you bring to it? Because that's part of the whole dynamic is, yeah. And are they over pleasing? Sometimes the nice people are over pleasing, and that's not what we want either. So just dig a little bit deeper below the surface of the word nice. What is it that you're thinking is nice about them? And are they qualities that you actually want? Because I do think we want nice people in our lives, but I get that we don't want them to be boring either. And so how can we, if the relationship feels really resonant for you, how can we as the partner come in to help them not to be not nice, not to be naughty, but to be in a different energy for them, to step out, maybe out of their people pleasing into something that feels more dynamic and isn't just about them worrying about you. Sometimes people are overly empathetic, overly compassionate about your feelings, and they don't have their own opinions. And so it might be your contract with them to help them, to nudge them, to, poke them and get them to come out of their comfort zone, to actually express what it is that they like, what it is that they need. And oftentimes, again, going back to some of the first questions today, that's a trained program that comes from childhood, that comes from sometimes a trauma, a big trauma, small trauma in our childhood, maybe at the playground, or with our siblings. It's like where we are in our line of birth charts. So there's a lot of factors that come in here on being compassionate, being empathetic, being nice, and where those boundaries are, and how we can help other people who maybe don't have awareness around that. Again, to not be naughty, but to ask for what they need. And that might be your role, is really just to nudge them and to push them to ask for what it is that they want, as opposed to just always do what you want. Okay. Again, I'm always happy to hear more in the questions. And if you have a question that is more personal and you want to go deeper, you can always schedule a one-on-one session. It's private. You can go to bethbell.me. I love helping anyone with heartbreak, life transitions, or maybe you just feel that deeper calling is coming and you just want to help, a little bit of help navigating it. All right, let's go on to the next question here. Okay. Is it possible that my type is actually based on my wounds? Yeah, I like that question. I think a lot of times when we talk about type, people are referring to maybe a look. And that can very much be. We know maybe some of you have experienced this, but a lot of times when you break up with someone, and then you're out in public and your heart is a little broken or tender, and you see someone that reminds you of your beloved, your past beloved, that can also trigger the type, right? So it can be that look, that the way they move, the way they hold themselves, the energy of which they display is a lot about type. So I think there is sort of that energetic component of it and the physical component of it. And then I think there's also, yes, something based on wounds, because if you're not healing whatever's coming forward as a mirror for you in the relationship, you will attract someone else who's going to bring that same wound. It's how oftentimes they'll say you'll marry, someone that's very similar to your mother or your father. And until you figure out, what are the aspects of that relationship that you want to release versus keep within you, you will go on many times with probably many marriages, many divorces, or just many relationships in general, until you get down to that really deep, bit that you go, yeah, that's the part that I don't want to attract anymore. That's the wounding. That's the part of me that I don't like to be. I don't like to be in that part of me. And I want that part to be released so I can be in my wholeness and be in sacred soul sharing with another, and attract someone who has also done their work to be in that beautiful, juicy place with us. So yeah, I think that type can be, and I think it goes back to the bad boy, bad girl image as well, that a lot of times we kind of have this ongoing pattern within us, or it's the nice girl, right? It's the nice guy. And so just really looking at that, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of deep hearted, heart-centered place where we're really asking ourselves the questions, and ultimately asking ourselves the question about ourselves. And what is it within me that I want to see differently? Because if I change that within me, then I'll attract people outside of me that will be reflecting the same thing. So the beauty of all of this is that we have that power to navigate and to not be stuck in a type, a pattern, our mother-father relationships. It just requires us to have awareness and to do some work to evolve and to grow into who we really are, which is oftentimes not the storylines that we have set up for us in our early years and moving into our teens, and then of course into our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So there's lots of work, but we can make it fun. And that's the point of the show as well, is to have fun doing some of this deep inner work and knowing that we're all in it together. We're all experiencing our own heartbreak, but yet there's so many similarities to the heartbreak that we can help each other heal together. I often talk about a lot of different healing modalities that I think like family constellation work and different things that really bring us together, and we realize how many of the wounds and the energy lines are just absolutely overlaid with one another. And when we heal ourselves, we can heal others. It's definitely the ripple effect, like the butterfly effect in the water. So I love that we can see this in reflection with others. And if we can make it fun, we can make it a little bit more lighthearted. The journey is just so much better together. All right, let's keep moving along here into the next question. Okay, how do I know if I'm mistaking intensity for love? I'm not 100% sure as I read the question, the intent behind this one. So if you happen to be with me on live, please clarify. But I do like the question because intensity for love. Now, I think, again, that might be referring back to the chemistry. But I'm going to go to the word fantasy, because intensity often has to do with a fantasy that we have. And I don't mean fantasy in a bad way. It can be, we can say that it's a dream. We can say that, it's something that a person that we're manifesting. Yeah, so that can be that intensity of like, wow, they really feel like they're everything to me. And what comes through on this is the good old phrase about how self-love is the most important thing you can I don't even like the word work on, but that you can evolve to. And on some hand, you might say, oh, it's easy. I love myself and I love who I am. And on the other side of that, there's oftentimes still those bits, those shadows, those things about ourselves that we find ourselves judging, we find ourselves giving ourselves a hard time about. And so the intensity of the fantasies and the dreams that we have with someone can be misinterpreted as love because we think that they fit a certain mold or that they make us feel a certain way. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's really just coming back to that self-inquisition of, where am I at? Where am I lined up? Where is my heart? Is my heart still broken over someone else? Is my heart blocked because of something that happened in childhood, or maybe it's something that's happened recently? Where is my heart? Because it's that level of vulnerability that we allow ourselves to have, that, and where we connect with someone on that vulnerability. Sometimes one person is incredibly vulnerable and the other person is not. And then that bond is not very healthy because that's not, you're not showing up in the same space. And so really anchoring into where you are and where your vulnerability points are, and how vulnerable can I be with this person, whether it's a friend or a parent or a lover or a spouse. Where is my vulnerability level? That's really going to give you that compass of, do I trust them? Do they care about me? Do they genuinely want to help me feel better in life, or be a catalyst for my journey, be a cheerleader for my gifts? That's where we really understand the love, not so much in the intensity that can come from fantasy and checklists and sometimes just that pure emotion that gets evoked. It's where am I at with my self-love? I know that's kind of feels like a theme today, but it is such a theme. It is the theme, is understanding thyself, knowing thyself, and having that self-realization so that we can raise our vibration and we can attract others in our field, not just romance, but friends, family, and others, that we can collectively move the needle together on awakening. All right, I so love these questions. So we're going to jump into the next one here. And if anyone on live has questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. And if you're watching on replay, you can also put them in the chat, or you can go to bethbell.me/question. It's a little bit more private, but I always love when we do it here live. Okay. Why do aligned, safe partners sometimes feel less exciting? And I feel like we answered this already in one of the other questions. So I'll do just a quick, intuitive read on this one. And the safe aligned partners, sometimes don't bring us the drama. And yet they're oftentimes the juiciest places to be, when we just stop to recognize how safety is such a core aspect of being able to be who we really are. I'll give an example. One of the things I feel just incredibly grateful for, and I actually did not realize my level of gratitude for this until I was living in Bali 10 years ago. So I don't even know, I was in my 40s, I guess, when I finally realized, after seeing so many people from all around the world in Bali at so many different healing sessions. I had my store there on Monkey Forest Road, and you can still find my jewelry on bethbell.me and different paper products. But while I was there, I really integrated into the spiritual community and went to a lot of different healing modalities. And what I found was, wow, there's a lot of really hurt people out there. I'm not saying I don't have my own pain. I do. And I've done my work, and I'm doing my work, and I will continue to do the work. But what I realized was, wow, like, my childhood was incredible on so many levels. Again, and not perfect, but incredible, because I had safety. I had like the foundation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I didn't really even know the magnitude of what that safety could bring for me, that I didn't actually ever have to feel like I wasn't loved. Luckily, my parents are still alive and with me today. I hope that they are for much, much longer. But I also know that when their legacy continues in another realm, that safety that they brought me is what helps me every single day to shine my light brighter, to keep my heart more open, to be in a vulnerable space. Yeah, there's days when I have an off day and I close my heart, or I just don't feel like shining my light as brightly. But that safety part is so important. And so if you're someone out there that hasn't had that deep safety feeling from a young age because of whatever parental issues, maybe something's happened in the community, something that didn't make you feel safe, that as other, whatever you want to call yourself, light workers, way showers, I think that's part of our role here, is to help others feel that innate love that's deep within each and every one of us, and to really be there for others. And so I know I kind of went off a little bit on that, but it's what's coming through about the question. Yeah, that I'm trying to just go back to it to make sure I'm answering it. Why do aligned, safe partners sometimes feel less exciting? And it's because that's not their role to create the drama. It's not their role to create the exciting things. It's their role to anchor in and to be that strong foundation. And so blessing and being grateful for those deep roots in the ground, are something that not everyone gets to have in a lifetime. And so if you've been blessed with that, or you've cultivated that, and you've gone through the fire to really learn what that is, and to move beyond a lot of things that were given to you through your DNA, through your family upbringing, your ancestral lineage, then please take that out and shine that for others. Shine that safety, shine that foundation, that love, that light, and help others. Because I think that, that blissfully neutral state is where we're all looking to come back to. And the message of duality comes through to say that, we don't know tall unless we know short. We don't know evil unless we know angelic. Like there's always that balance of knowing the differences. And that's part of being on planet Earth, and part of being here as a human, to experience that duality of things. And so having someone that's super grounded here in this reality is such a blessing. So hopefully you'll be able to anchor that in and really see the value in that. I feel like you do, but it's just what's coming through in response to that question. Okay, we're coming down to the hour here, so let me just jump in on the last few questions. Okay, so can true alignment feel calm instead of fiery? And yes, of course it can. And I think we've already touched on that as well, that when we feel like there's a calmness, that stability with someone, that we can open our heart, that we can open our minds, that we can be heard. Doesn't mean we're always right. Doesn't mean they think we're always right. But when we can express our feelings and share that with others, that it can really bring that calmness. And a lot of times we do get into that fiery place of, what's coming to mind, I don't know why, but Italians sometimes can be really fiery and really passionate. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also a place of just being like you would with the Dalai Lama, in just a really peaceful place. And just knowing that you're being heard, you're being seen. And sometimes that's not by the words that you say. And I think this is a place that we're all leading to go, which is, what is my energy giving out? The passion can be there, but it doesn't have to be fiery. It can be. Some of us are just meant to be fiery. Some of us are just meant to, go with that enthusiasm. And then we're also meant to just be here and let the fire burn, and let our light emanate, and let our warmth exude, so that we can not only feel the love for ourselves, but that we can share it with others and attract them back to us. And that's where the calm really comes in. And I think right now at this time, it is such an important time to have that calmness, to watch the fires potentially burn around you, and know that sometimes there's nothing you can do or should do or need to do to try to put them out, because that would not be the place that your energy needs to be, that sometimes just holding the calm mental state, taking the deep breath in, deep breath out, just being really anchored in that loving space of calmness. A lot of times it doesn't always get rewarded in this reality, but yet it does, because it gets seen, it gets felt, it gets emanated. And when we get the ego mind out of the way, thinking that we need to be seen or we need to be felt, and we just allow ourselves to feel, that's when, boom, it goes out into such a bigger way. And that calmness is even more powerful. That quiet space is more powerful than the fiery, I've got the torch and I'm running with it. Again, there's nothing wrong with one or the other. It's just that right now it feels the calmness, the presence, the in alignment with our purpose is really what we're being called to do. And so as we talk about almost every show, sometimes that comes through heartbreak to get us there. Sometimes that comes through heartache. And sometimes that just comes from big love with ourselves and with others. And so let's just know when we want to go into our fiery self and when we want to go into our calm self, that both can be equally as powerful, but that we do it with intention. That it's not a chaotic fiery self, and it's not a sheltered, I'm not going to let anyone see me calmness. That it's that inner balance to be in that blissfully neutral state that helps us to really be who we are, be passionate about what we're here to do and how we're here to serve and contribute, and allow our light to shine brightly in whatever way is our unique signature. Thank you, Heart Traveler, for the gratitude. I appreciate it. Okay, let's just do one last question here. Okay, how do I shift my inner compass so I'm drawn to people who are actually good for me? Do your inner work. Oftentimes, I'm not saying this for you specifically that asked the question, I'm saying for the collective, that we are drawing in the mirrors. And so I feel like I'm honing in on this point that it's your work to be done. It's so easy for all of us, myself included, to say, he, she, they, them, that's what's happening here, and pointing those fingers and wondering why we're attracting them. And yet it's an aspect of ourselves that hasn't been healed, or it's just, I don't really like the word test. What's the word? Initiation, an initiation that's coming forward to just say, where exactly are we on this? Like, where are we on our ability to come back to that blissfully neutral state when we get triggered, when we get poked, when we get prodded, when our vulnerability gets torn? And how can we just really be in that centered place? That north compass is also very much through meditation. And when you're sitting in meditation, visualize your best self. What does your best self look like today? What is a best self from someone else that you're wanting to bring in? Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's just a lovely interaction that you'd like to have that day. What does that look like? And anchor it in with meditation. Anchor in the feeling, not just the mental gyration of it. That's good, but it's also about feeling it. It's about cultivating. And sometimes that can be a challenge. You're sitting, if you don't have an altar, I would recommend doing an altar, a sacred space that you sit at every day. That alone is an intention to really bring, if you want, I have crystals and stones and different symbolic things. Bring what has meaning to you. That alone is a good intention to set, is just to be able to sit in the same place with a sacred altar and really anchor it in. Anchor in what your best self looks like, and anchor in what, other situations that you want to have happen in that day look and feel like. And it doesn't take long to do this. And journaling also helps, just because I know sometimes the mind wants to wander, and, journaling first, putting it down on paper, and then sitting and anchoring it in and feeling it can be really, really helpful to anchoring it in and attracting it to you, and with consistency, right? We got to just find, even if it's 15 minutes a day, it's a lot more helpful than not sitting in that quiet space outside of the chaos and in our inner world. And if our inner world is chaotic, then that's also something to just go, noted. Let me shift that. I'm feeling anxiety. I want to feel calm. And noting that and bringing that in. What is it that helps make you feel calm? Maybe you have a fur baby, and when you are holding your fur baby, you feel calm. And so just start to visualize situations and people that help you feel calm, because it's so easy to come up with more things that create anxiety and how I feel anxious. So come back to the things that do help you feel those ways. All right, we're down to the hour. Each week, I love having you here. I love it when you're with me on live. If you're watching on replay, still, please leave comments, leave questions. You can go to bethbell.me/question. If you're interested in doing a little bit more deeper work, or you want some personalized guidance, you can go to bethbell.me. There's one-on-one sessions. There's also some VIP programs. They're very limited. They're monthly programs for intuitive soul advising. So if you're really navigating that heartbreaking situation, or maybe just a really big life transition, or that deeper calling within is knocking on your door, your soul's calling, I would love to work with you and to help you as you navigate being in this world, and also opening to your soul's mission and your soul's plan. And again, if you haven't done the State of the Heart assessment, you can go to bethbell.me on that as well. Find out if your heart is blocked, broken, healing, or whole, and receive some tips to keep you back to wholeness. All right, each week, 11 a.m. on Sundays Pacific time. I love to see you here, so I look forward to seeing you again next week. And until then, wishing you much bliss and love on the journey. Namaste.